Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Now, some of you may know that Klaus Mäkelä, the Ken doll of classical music, is recording Berlioz, or has recorded Berlioz's Symphonie fantastique, coupled to Ravel's La Valse. And a bunch of you have asked me if I'm going to review it, and I noticed that it's not going to be available as physical product until about July. It's now the beginning of June, so it's about a month away, but it's available for download now. So I was able to download it and listen to it very carefully several times on Head Things. And oh my, the parade of mediocrity continues. It really does. I just don't get this guy. What is he good at? I would think that, in undertaking the Symphonie fantastique particularly, which it's a tough piece to pull off. Everybody knows that. And there have been, people who really specialize in Berlioz, who have really done it with the appropriate combination of passion and grotesquerie and demonic menace and, all of those things that you need in order to do it. People like, Charles Munch, of course, Michael Tilson Thomas, Leonard Bernstein, Igor Markevich, Herbert von Karajan in his second recording, which is just marvelous. Really great conductors have treated this music with the special emphasis that it needs, because everything in it is exaggerated. I mean, it's a drug-induced hallucination, a portrait of that musically, and it has an enormous dynamic range and lots of punchy and strange accents, and you have to balance it correctly. I mean, it's just one tough bit after another for the conductor, and Mäkelä fails at virtually all of them. Is this a dreadful performance? No, it's not. It's not in any way off-putting or bizarre in that bad sense. It's just incredibly uninteresting. He has nothing, zero, to bring to the table, and certainly none of the qualities that a more mature and, dare I say it, talented conductor can make an orchestra bring to the music. Now, of course, he has the Orchestra de Paris, which, gives you a sense that, it's a French orchestra, it is French music. But remember, the French have never played Berlioz well. They never even liked Berlioz. So you could just write that off immediately. You really can. Maybe they know it really well by now. I don't know. Doesn't sound like it, but, there you go. So let's take it one step at a time, shall we? I do have our little bedtime story. It's called The Score for baby Klaus. So maybe we can give him a tip or two next time he does it. It's so full of footnotes and instructions and carefully and obsessively notated dynamics. It's really kind of amazing. I mean, the very opening, after that wispy introduction, which here sounds particularly wan, maybe because it's the lack of string vibrato, but there's a difference between distraction, which is sort of what this introduction represents, and just plain dullness. I mean, there's always got to be tension in Berlioz, always. I mean, these disconnected phrases just go nowhere. Then when the strings come in, the violins with the quick tempo, remember that? So, Berlioz writes, "The following 11 bars are of unusual difficulty. I cannot sufficiently advise the conductor to repeat them, and with the greatest care. From the change in time, più mosso, to the resumption of the theme, tempo 1. It is a good plan to take this passage at first with the violins, 1 and 2 only, and afterwards with the rest of the orchestra until they are perfectly familiar with all grades of the tempo, which seem to me to be the most difficult to obtain with the necessary unity and exactness from a number of players." Well, yes, that's true. So what does he do? Usually this passage ought to sound, it's the first sign of the neurosis to come. and it has to go like the wind. It has to be really quick. The strings have to be pressed. They have to really be pressed to do it. And it gets faster as it goes. Well, Mäkelä obviously rehearsed it. Maybe the only thing they did rehearse, I don't know. But he rehearsed it so that it's light and tripping and effortless and a little bit too slow. Just a little too slow. It's got to have edge. It really does. It's this sudden, out of nowhere, it erupts. Well, no, it doesn't erupt. Okay, never mind. And not only that, but it's pumoso, and then poco pumoso. It's no, none of that happens. Okay, so there's that. And then we've got like the main body of the first movement. He takes the exposition repeat. Why? What's the point? I mean, if you don't have anything to say about the music, why would you say nothing about it twice? It's really not necessary. But okay, he does it. But having done it, why does he alter the dynamics the second time around, like making it softer and even less tactile? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous because look at this. Look at this. You get to the idée fixée here, which is the main theme. And if you look at your score, which is right here with your idée fixée, I'll just pop this up here for a second. The number of expressive and agogic indications is extraordinary. You've got all of these hairpins and crescendos and decrescendos and sforzandi, and the tempo increases to animato, and then odd tempo, then ritornello, and then a poco ritornello after a fermata, and then, all of this stuff is happening in this tune, and he's not even approximating most of it, especially if you're going to change the dynamics the second time around. I mean, that misses the point entirely, doesn't it? So, all right, there we go. Then, the rest of the thing sort of bumps along, always with a muted sense of dynamics. I mean, the dynamics here, they go from triple piano to double forte with great regularity, sometimes within a very short space. It's always got to be eruptive, and it just isn't. And then the final climax, which is way down here. Let's see. It's, there it is, at figure 17. I mean, you've got the main tune. The main tune is played by the flutes, the flute piccolo, oboes, and two cornets in unison. Cornets, like trumpet things. You don't even hear the cornets. They might as well not be there. One of the problems is the balances here are just dreadful. The strings are always too forward in the mix, always, and at the expense of the winds, which are what give Berlioz so much of his, coloristic brilliance. It's terrible. And then when the timpani come in, done with the triplets underneath. No, they're practically they're muffled, and the rhythms are indistinct. I mean, you don't have to slug the crap out of them. They're only marked forte, but with accents. There's got to be a transparency to the sound. There is no transparency here. The strings are up front. Everything else is in the back. Occasionally a solo horn or a clarinet or something pop out of the pudding. But no. Okay. So there's that. Now let's get to our next story in our little bedtime saga here. The waltz. Well, oh dear. The waltz is so pretty. I mean, I just love it. And then at the very end here, it moves, it gets faster and faster. It really does. It's very exciting. And you've got these descending scales in the horns, da 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 da, which go from piano to fortissimo in the space of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars in quick 3/4 time or 3/8 time. It's what this is. I mean, it's really got to move, and the animato is not animated. And then after the animato at the end, it's più vivo stringendo, faster and push it, really push it. Yeah, bum, 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 with sforzandos at the end. No, it's just this da 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 jump, 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 with this nice spongy final chord. Ugh, horrible. All right, moving on to the scene in the country. Oh, this usually dies. In most performances, it dies. Why? Because most people play it too slowly. He plays it too slowly. He takes 17 minutes over it. Timing isn't everything, I understand, but Munch is 15 and Karajan is 16 and a bit, and Markevich is 15, and Bernstein, yes, he's a little more than 17, but he's Bernstein. He can get away with it because he presses the tempo forward where it needs to be pressed, and most of the extra time is at the beginning and the end, in the duetting between the oboe and English horn, and then the imitation of thunder. So you can relax over that a little bit because you're creating atmosphere. But this creates no atmosphere. The introduction is marked to be played by an English horn and a second and an oboe behind the scene, as Berlioz marks it, off stage. You don't get any sense of that here. I mean, really, you get no sense of it here. The oboe's maybe a little softer, but the idea of spatial separation, of vast silence in the country, sounds in the distance, nothing, absolutely nothing. So you're in bad shape to start with, and then of course it just meanders along like it usually does, until you get to the thunder bit at the end with the return of the opening calls and the oboe and English horn. It's just boring. Even this music, there are all these opportunities for delicate accents in the woodwind parts. He's paying attention to the strings, but the strings are just accompanying. They're going thwada, 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 like that. And you've got to have like the tune, and that's what's got to have personality. That's what's got to have character, and it just doesn't have any. So that's a snoozeroo. So we get past the snoozeroo here. There it is, and we come to the march to the scaffold. Oh my God, this is the worst performance. This is the worst performance of this I've probably ever heard, or one of the worst. It's absolutely dreadful. How do I explain how dreadful it is? Well, let's put it this way. When it gets hopping, you've got the timpani underneath and the low brass going wah wah yum da ba dum ba ba bum bum ba dum ba ba bum bum ba dum ba ba bum 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 ba dum bum 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 bum. Did you notice that? That's fortissimo. The brass have to scream. They don't scream. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. And then when you get the tune, yes, you get those low notes in the tuba, those flatulent, yes, you capture that. He gets that. That's nice. But the tune sucks. I mean, the tune in the cornets again, dum ba da 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 ba da ba da ba da ba da. It's got to be brilliant, high kicking, and he has them phrase it in this oily legato. Oh, hello, Finster. That's a piece of Finster over there. Why does he do that? I mean, the cornets. There you go. It's bum bum. There's an accent. Dun da dum ba dum ba dum ba dum bum. Accent. Dum bum bum bum, like this, and he's doing it. Yeah, 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 da 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 da. It's horrible. It's just bad. It's wrong. It's just wrong. It's evil. It's awfulness. It's wrongness. It's wrongosity. It's a disgrace. And then at the climax of it, when they're all going da 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 dum, crash da dum, slightly less crash da da dum. Pow! Da, dum, da. Nope. Not there. Half the time you can't even hear the cymbals and bass drum going off. I mean, in those second shots there. I mean, it's embarrassing. And the funny thing about it is that all he has to do is nothing. I mean, he's getting in the way. This is active malfeasance. We're not talking about somebody who doesn't understand how to make an orchestra to do something. He's actually implemented these terrible ideas, an impasto of foolishness, imposed on Berlioz's music, which is so precise. I mean, what is there to get wrong? Everything he does. All right, so that's a disaster. And then we get to the finale. Now, the finale has its moments. I mean, the witch comes zipping in on her broomstick. That's pretty effective. The woodwinds gurgle and chirp the way they're supposed to until the strings come in and drown everybody out. And then you've got the funeral part. I mean, the tubas are nice and tubistic. They do the dies irae well. You can't hear the church bells half the time. As soon as anything else starts playing, they get covered. So again, so much of the atmosphere, the weirdness of the music is completely lost. He does a very good transition into the Ronde de Sabbat fugue. He does that really well. Obviously, they rehearsed that bar. That's really great. So there's one bar out of I don't know how many there are that they really nail, and then the rest of it just proceeds the way we normally expect it to, without any particular excitement or passion or diablerie or just a terrible waste of time. The guy's just not ready for this, or maybe he never will be. Maybe he just doesn't have the chops for it. That's a possibility we all have to consider, because so far he's had the chops for absolutely nothing that he's recorded. But anyway, so there's that. Then there's a coupling, a filler. Oh, yes, and the filler is La Valse. Well, there's a certain appropriateness to La Valse, isn't there? Because there's a waltz in the Berlioz, and there are also both pieces that end with a sort of, apocalypse of nihilism. At least that's the idea, except that there's no apocalypse of nihilism at the end of this La Valse. It's fine. It just flows along in 3/4 time the way it's supposed to, until you get to the big tam-tam crash. And then it just gets heavier and more lethargic and less urgent. I mean, it's supposed to get more. It's supposed to get more exciting and faster and more violent and more vicious until it just rips itself to pieces. It goes completely nuts at the end. No, this doesn't go nuts. This is just, it's sleepwalking through the end of the piece. I've never heard the end of this piece done less effectively. It really is astonishing. Bernstein recorded that work. Oh my God, is that exciting! It's incredible. I mean, the ending is just you're just a wreck when it's over. Well, there's no wreckage, unfortunately. The sleek little toy matchbox car that Klaus likes to drive through this particular piece emerges completely unscathed. I mean, really is. I know he's not really that young. I mean, he's got a lot of experience. He's what is he doing? What does he do well? Anything? Does he have any feeling for anything that he's being asked to conduct? I mean, I understand he's being exploited. Decca wants to take advantage of his celebrity, his youth, his good looks, but I'm telling you, he has less personality than a Ken doll. I mean, a Ken doll may have no genitalia, but it has personality. It looks like something. You know what I mean? It's a product with a defined character. What is his character? What can he play as well or better than all those who came before him? Maybe there's nothing, but he needs to try. He needs to define himself, because I cannot believe that he's going to be, pinning his placard, to the stunningness of his vision of Berlioz's Symphonie fantastique. It just doesn't make any sense. And neither does this recording. It's a complete waste of your time and money. having said that, I'm sure you'll all rush off and listen to it to see if it's what I say it is, but that's okay. I mean, go do that. Verify it for yourself. Just don't spend money on it. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.